Hey everybody, and welcome back to Planet Coaster 2. I hope we're all doing well today. So today we're doing something a little bit slower, taking a bit of a break from Westwood Grinds. I thought I'd do a bit of a blueprint building style, less serious, and just having a bit more fun. Although that fun quickly turns into madness when we do the custom supporting. But yeah, so this is Limitless, a very compact launch coaster that I made. And if you saw the Mecha Coaster video I posted earlier in the week. This is taking some direct inspiration from that, and also just having a little bit of fun with it, and making sure to keep it realistic. As the goal here is to make this thing as realistic as possible without going too overboard and things of that nature. Although when I say realism, I also mean trying to keep clearances. Although I highly doubt that the clearances on this ride are within like actual safety standards. But oh well, we're just gonna keep on going through with it, just keep on going there. And I'm actually feeling a bit better today, so hopefully we should be able to get this entire thing knocked out in one video. I don't know just yet. Now I will say this layout I wanted to be a lot bigger originally, but the little boundaries I gave myself to work within here kind of threw me for a loop, quote unquote. And also I think the flow of the ride just works really well, so I didn't think it needed too much else in order to capture the feeling that I was going for here. Now that's one thing I will suggest when doing this and downloading this coaster, because this is a blueprint, is taking like the tunneling tool and just selecting all of the track and just smoothing it once with the tooling selection and just kind of go from there. That's the best way of doing it, just to make sure it's nice and consistent with what I've already got here. Although if you just want to take the terrain tool and just take it to where you can see the footers of each column, you can go ahead and do that as well. But yeah, so the ride model is based off of like the Gerstlauer launch coasters, or even like the Mack hyper looping coaster over in China. If I can quickly look up the name here, you think I would have looked it up beforehand, but it's all right. I am not finding what I'm looking for, but yeah, it's the big hyper looping coaster over in China. It's got like the big top hat and that kind of thing. Hurricane is what it's called. And that ride is just absolutely gigantic, so I want to take some inspiration with the top hat, just the way the support structures here were on it. Although granted, it's two different styles, trying to blend them into one, so there's a bit of a different balance here. But I think it's turned out really well, and this was my first really true time of like fully custom supporting stuff. Like I've done like coasters where I've supported like turns or like little bridges and stuff like that, and you've seen that in some of the park spotlight things we've done here on the channel, or showcases rather. But this time I wanted to actually follow some realism, and I wanted to use like the triangular cross sections that you find on a lot of the Gerstlauers, looping coasters, things of that nature. And I think it just turned out really, really well. Now I will say, it was kind of a pain to get these supports in. So like you'll see different jump cuts throughout the video as to where different sections I started and stopped in. I hope it's not too jarring, anything like that. I'm trying something a little bit different here, doing a time lapse all the way through start to finish. There's no like mid between breaks or anything like that. It's just one thing after another, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy the end result. I mean, otherwise you wouldn't have clicked on the thumbnail. That's the result right there. I will say I don't know how well I feel about the whole black and white color scheme. I think like the white blends too much into the sky, but I also sort of going for a bit more of a realistic slash blueprinty style thing here. I wanted to make sure to try to keep this thing fairly minimalistic if I can talk, which I never can. Oh my god. Guys, I barely started recording. My throat is already really dying. It is a bigger recording than normal. Excuse me. Okay. Okay, we're good. Now, so hopefully I've designed this thing well enough for you guys to put this in your parks to where you don't have to try too hard with like the whole pathing setup, because that is the one good thing about Planet Coaster 2 is it just takes your pathing spots and stuff like that and already comes with it, so you don't have to actually set anything up, which I think is a really handy feature. Yeah, no, I think it's just really cool. Uh, Now, one thing I wish I could have incorporated, but I just did not have the park houses to do it. I believe I finished with like 4 pieces to spare I think if I could have done it over again, I would have made sure to include more like netting things because the amount of times this track crosses over itself, I wouldn't want to take that chance of getting hit by anything, and maybe even also a catwalk on the first launch just to make sure no one actually gets hit by anything of that nature. And also make sure like the ride were to break down and stuff like that, people could walk back to the station with no issue. Because like I've said, I've tried to keep like flow, throughput, all that kind of stuff in mind here with creating this. And this will apply if we do another build like this in the future with a different ride model. Maybe we say we do an invert of some kind. I think that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, so the reason I chose this design style and just the whole like aesthetic of this coaster because I wanted to be able to fit in like every park or just in the vast majority of them anyway. I want to keep it, like I said, fairly simple, minimalistic, and just things of that nature. Now, I hate to admit this, but this layout will change some even after putting in the supports, and we'll talk about that later. It's because I didn't like the way the middle hill floated like there in the middle, where that brake run is. We'll get into that a little bit later, but yeah. Other than that, I still think the ride has turned out very well, and I'm definitely eager to do more things of this style because I actually knocked this coaster out in about 2-3 days ish. Because I started it after Monday's Wednesday. No, what day is today? Today's Thursday. So I started this on Tuesday, so the day before the video for this week came out. So yeah, track record wise, it usually takes me about a week or two to sometimes pump these out. But this one, nah, it's actually very fast. So this might be a style we carry over into Westbrook Pines, as there are a couple coaster ideas that this whole concept here could lend itself into very well. And maybe a tour of the original might be in order at some point. It's a garbage park. It's a garbage park, but you know what? It's where it started. Everything started at, and I'm still proud of what I accomplished there. The interiors are corroded. I'm still not very good at them, but hey, we're gonna get better and keep on going. So yeah, there's all this stuff. Now, I will say, I don't know how realistic these supports are compared to, like, the real-life representations from the Gerstlauers that we have, but I think they do the job certain enough. I want to try my best to make sure to minimize the amount of, like, actual footers we needed, because, again, we're dealing with this elevated terrain stuff, which is not what I originally intended, but the dive loop over the station kind of changed all that with how deep I had to make that hole, so that's because I didn't want the ride to pull forces that go above about 5 or so, because that's just a bit excessive. I try to keep things around about 4.5 or so, just for realism's sake, because that's what that's what standard-wise most coasters are. Although there are a few exceptions. I-305, I'm looking at you, and all those Intamins really. It's just the way that Intamins ride the track and just the profile I think makes them really intense. So I've definitely tried to capture some of that here with the transition between the roll up into the curve around the first drop or turn thing. I don't actually know what that element's called, but I thought it was cool. I would have done a straight regular drop, but there's already plenty of those. I think the whip you get by going downwards and turning at the same time is really cool effect. And believe it or not, I actually got the chance to ride Top Thrill 2 last year during the 2024 season when it only was open for like what, a week maybe, and I like just the way the speed it carried over through the tophat into that spiral was absolutely nuts. It was like ejector spiraled all the way through. It was absolutely amazing. And I didn't really have high expectations going into it either because I was a big fan of the original, and I just thought it was hard to beat the hydraulic launches. Rip Kingda Ka. So I'm really sad to see those things are dying out. I mean, I get that they're like high maintenance stuff, but it's a shame that we couldn't have utilized the structure on Kingda Ka and stuff like that. But I have every confidence that like Great Adventure and other parks that start doing that similar thing to their hydraulic launches, as I'm assuming, like Accelerator and Montagana and Stormrider, I'm assuming at some point in time they're going to have a similar realization or things we're going to have to do to like maintain them and upkeep them. Because it is expensive to operate. If you guys don't know, Kingda Ka at Six Flags Great Adventure, formerly anyway, from what I've been told or I've heard, that it costs like over $1 million to operate every year, which that's just nuts to me. By far the most expensive of the entire chain. And it just comes down to like the amount of like moving mechanism, things of that nature that's within the ride, and that's the general extent of it. Is why most of them cost as much as they do to get the parts and staffing and all that stuff. I could honestly probably rant for hours, but that's for a totally different video, totally different topic. It just totally different style. Maybe we can get into that. If you guys want to hear about that ramblings, I could go on about it for hours. It'd honestly probably get nowhere because I'll just derail and get off into a different topic. I know it might just be my ADHD kicking in, but yeah. I can't possibly seem to keep myself thinking in one direction or not. Maybe that's just me watching TikTok too much, I don't know. Rest in peace. Although I don't know what the whole state of TikTok is right now. Maybe I'll have to look into that at some point. Yeah, anyway, back to the coaster building here. That's a bit off track. So this spiral around the tower here, like I said, I want to make sure I didn't make too many more base footers here. And I really wanted the idea that this is all connected into one structure. And I think at the end of it all, this looks really cool. If this was a haunted ride, I'd probably call this the spider web right here. Just because of like the web it makes around that pillar right here. And just the way like the coaster dives in and around supports, I love it when they include like foot choppers, head choppers, all that kind of stuff. It just makes it for a really excited ride. I know Steel Bendis to Cedar Point is a good example of that. I know people give it a lot of crud for being super intense and hard on the legs, but to me that's why it is such a good ride, is because the fact it's pushing your body to the limit, and it's a phenomenal ride. Are the airtime hills a bit repetitive? Yeah, I can agree with that. But there's just so much, I can't deny how good of a ride it is. And don't get me wrong, I've ridden Air Force One, I've ridden Iron Gwazi, all these other RMCs. Although I have yet to get overseas, we will actually get over there. Because Zadra does look pretty amazing over that Energy Land. I cannot believe I about forgot the name. So you guys, that shows you just how bad I am at this. Not really. Yeah, I think Steel Bendis overall is just a really good ride and solid. And also, I think it does suck that those restraints just come down on you so hard. But I get this guy. I'm assuming they're hydraulic. I don't know for certain. Hydraulic or pneumatic, one of the two. I know a lot of the Inversions use the pneumatic stuff, while it's still like using air. So I believe like the drop towers, like the one at Kings Island, some of the other ones use air. I mean, shoot. Even like some of the old aero coasters, they use air brakes and stuff like that. So that means air uses them open and close. I'm sure someone out there that knows a lot more than me can explain better. And if you guys really want to teach too, I could probably dive into the whole inner workings and stuff like that, because I think it is pretty cool. It's just I don't know enough yet to be able to tell you everything like the back of my hand. Although I probably should, as I do operate the bat and those rides like that fairly often, so hopefully those rides can stick around a little bit longer. I think they're really good. See, that's my thing with the arrows too, is like I get the mark they left on the industry and the pioneering and stuff that they did, and I'm forever grateful like that we had those creations. But at the end of the day, there are newer models that can do similar things and do them better. So if you have to lose an arrow, yeah, it is sad, but I'm certain there are newer models that can do its job well. Although I am surprised that no other companies really tried to do like the suspended models like the Bat or Vortex Canter's Wonderland and stuff like that. Because I think they are really fun, and I'd love to see like a fully adult-sized version of all of them. That's because the Bat's good, but I think if you took away the roughness, it wouldn't be as intense. Not to say that Bat's rough or anything. I think Banshee's arguably rougher. But granted, we all know that those trains on Banshee are much heavier as a result of those vest restraints, which, I mean, it's fine that it doesn't give you head banging, but I'd rather the ride be gloss smooth, because, I mean, shoot, even Raptor at Cedar Point's smoother than Banshee is. At least I think so. Or even, not even just Raptor, I mean, like, look at Montu at Busch Gardens Tampa. It's even it's glass smooth too, and it's what, 30 years old, 30, 35, something like that. It's crazy how old those rides are. I mean, granted, it is also a combination of like the maintenance as well. I know that's a bit of a rant, but like I said, I could go on for days about stuff like that. Maybe I'm just full of it and don't actually know what I'm talking about, but I care about my parks. I just want to see them all succeed. and including this coaster right here, although I'm not doing a very good job of that. Although I do like the idea we've presented here with like the idea of going through a support like this. I wish more parks should again do that. It makes for some really nice effect just zooming past through it all. It makes you feel a lot faster than you're going, and again provides those head and foot choppers. But yeah, like I've mentioned earlier, this section right here will get changed up some just because of the fact I don't like the way like riding up into it, like the amount of force you pull into it. It's not natural. It doesn't feel like it is anyway, so this will get adjusted some. We might have to just scooch it over to the left. I don't know how too much, and it's going to make it a nightmare to do now that I've already built the supports, but hey, you know what? It is totally okay. We are here, we are living, we are laughing. Well, I'm not really laughing, I'm sweating. I don't know what. It's something like I don't even have the heat turned up really even much in this room. It's just, I feel naturally sweaty. You know what? Maybe it's just this sweatshirt here I got on here. Hang on. Okay, I've taken off the sweatshirt. I feel moderately better now. I don't know why I feel so hot in this room. It's just the fact I'm just talking to a mic and look like a crazy person. But hey, you know what? It's fine. It's fine, man. We're chilling. But yeah, anyway, kind of just jumping all over the place again. I know this is probably a mess for you guys. I really apologize for that. It feels really weird to do a time lapse after doing the whole jump cut things, but it's refreshing. Maybe this is something we can do more often in the main park series or the couple we might be doing here, because I do have a couple ideas about other side projects I want to do. Just picking which one I want to do first is really a problem. So it's all right. We're getting around to it. Is this the point where I can't tell if this is the point where I change the layout of this right here or not. I don't think it is. I think we do some station building first. But yeah, and now I will admit it's probably weird that I'm doing all the supports first and not actually doing any like the footer work just yet. Only reason I did that was just to save time because I figured I could just go pretty quick and just put on all the footers at once, and then they're pretty much just sticking vertically into the ground. So I didn't think that required too much effort. Now this bit back here at the back, I thought this was a nightmare to do just because of the way the support structure worked. Because this where the entrance and exit of the ride are, I wanted to make sure to be able to include like bits where you can walk through the supports and around. Cause I think it makes for some really nice viewpoints and makes for some really nice interactions. I know Cedar Point, believe it or not, is actually pretty good about this. Especially like Siren's Curse right now, they're putting in that tilt coaster, which looks phenomenal by the way. That does a pretty good job of it. Um, I think Magic Mountain actually does a pretty good job with it too, because I mean you've got full throttle there that kind of wraps around the mountain, going over pathways and stuff like that. I'm trying to think about all the other good ones. I mean, even shoot, it's like even corkscrew, like at Cedar Point. I know it's not a very good ride, and it's arguably probably should have gone a long time ago, but I think still the visual is still there. I personally hope that if it does go away soon, and they put it in like again a Gerstlauer uniform like this or a Mack Extreme Spinner right there. This I think is like a really nice sideline to have Top Thrill 2 right there next to it, Power Tower behind it. Um, and also again including in those inversions. And I think you can make it if you do a Eurofighter or not a Eurofighter, an Infinity Coaster, because that's what these are, Infinity Coasters, quote unquote. I think they can make it to where guests of all ages can ride it, because that is like the argument behind like not getting rid of Iron Dragon and stuff. Because you gotta have rides that suit everyone. So Corkscrew, while maybe not the best, like in terms of smoothness, it still offers rides to younger people of ages. I think you need that for like balance and consistency. That's why parks like Kings Island, Hershey Park, even in Greater America up in uh, Illinois does such a good job with it, because I have stuff for everyone, and it feels like no one's forgot about. Now, of course, that doesn't mean they're not necessarily the most well maintained or anything like that, but hey, you know what? It's a start in the right direction, and I think now with the whole Six Flags merger taking place, I think it's definitely a step in the right direction. You let me know. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I know that might be an unpopular opinion, but again, I just like seeing my parks succeed, and I want what's best for them. Even though I'm just a regular guy here, kind of doing this Planet Coaster stuff, I still try my best to support the theme park world, because I think it makes people happy and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, anyway, here as you can see, we're pretty much almost done, or at least halfway done with getting this awkward support in. I tried to make sure I didn't include a support that had to be placed within the station because I thought I would look weird. So I try my best to make like this floating element kind of thing. Kind of think like on Gold Rush, I think it is over in Australia. I think that's where it's at. Don't get me wrong. I apologize right now if that's not the right spot or whatnot, but maybe I'll make sure to put up a infographic right here if I remember to. I mean, I should have enough time as this is on track to be out on Friday like I need it to be. So yeah, I think it's looking really good. And on that topic of like seeing, wanting to know like or predicting as to like what you want to see in like the future of like your home park and stuff like that, please let me know down in the comments if you want to see like a series or something like that on that topic, because I have a lot of different things I'd like to see, especially around like stuff like King's Island and Cedar Point, because I've grown up around them my entire life, and believe it or not, I actually used to be really terrified of heights. I don't even know what that stemmed from really, because none of the rest of my family was really like that. It was just me. Um, as you can see, that's completely changed now as I'm building this crazy looking steel coaster right here. But yeah, so because I just have a lot of ideas I want to see, especially around like the home parks, and I'm sure you guys probably do as well, because you like know me, like if I can talk. It's a real mess. I'm sorry, guys. This is probably a mess, but I'm obviously having a good time. So, but yeah, you guys, I'm assuming, probably know your home parks pretty well, and have a lot of ideas what you want to see happen to them as well. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe that could happen. I mean, I know Hershey Park, for example, they're making really good strides, honestly, in upgrading their park. I know, obviously, they've done Wildcats Revenge recently the last 2 years. I think that's a top tier RMC. I think they're getting obviously that S&S Scream and Swing thing, the Twizzler, something like that. I don't remember. That part confuses me because like they have a weird balance of like candy themed stuff and then just regular ride stuff. It's really confusing. I kind of wish they just pick one, but hey, you know what? I'm not one to judge too much because they still make awesome rides, and arguably they have better ones than what Kings Island's got. So take that as you will. Yeah. Anyway, I guess jumping back over here to what we're actually doing here in this video, as you can see, we're continuing on with this really grueling and boring, arduous task of adding supports everywhere. And it's really honestly kind of a challenge to come up with different designs, what would realistically be put in place to get over and support like properly all these different track pieces, because it is kind of a mess of steel right here. I mean, just look at like the different shapes we're trying to go with. The thing is, I don't know how realistic like any of these supports would actually be for a Gerstlauer, but I think maneuver wise, I think they are pretty realistic. Now, as you can see here, we're doing our first test run to make sure it all rides smoothly and we don't hit our heads on anything. Knock on wood, because that is something that happens. It's a real nightmare, because like I said, we do have to change some of the supports coming up here pretty soon, but we're still about halfway into the process right now. I don't believe, I can't remember how much of what we do in terms of like detailing work. So I know we do this, I know we do the station, I know we do like some general landscaping, but I don't know how much we do aside from that. I do believe we keep it a fairly simple sign and things of that nature, just to make it easier on the part counts and things like that, as we do only have a limit of 4,000. Although we do have the ability to add snap grids to the build, so that means you could have multiple blueprints and theories where they just snap into one position. So maybe that's something we're looking to do. Maybe we do like 8 or 12k part blueprints, make them into 3 different parts. I don't know just yet. I gotta fiddle around and see how those work. Maybe you guys have more insight into that, because I just don't have the time to mess with it really. I don't know why. I feel like I'm always so short on time. It's a real problem. Maybe I need to get better time management. Note to self, do that later. Yeah, as you can see, we're about halfway into the process, so now we're starting the process of doing the custom supports for the actual launch track itself. I originally wanted to keep these, it's like their own separate, they make them standard just to save on part count. But then I'm looking at like the regular supports and I'm like, these don't look right in shaping or color or anything like that, so why not just go ahead and change them? And honestly, I think that was a much better decision. It makes everything feel more cohesive. I feel like there's it makes me feel like there's more effort put into it. I was like, I know it's doing sports and not really doing too much theming might not seem like a lot, but trust me, it is a lot of work doing the custom supports. Even on a ride as small as this, it's only got about 2,000 feet of track. This still took me about 6 or 7 hours or so at the very least to do it all. And that's not just this. That's not including like the whole track revisions we had to do or anything like that. So, but we had to redesign the supports. I mean, it's not like I like fully redid the supports. I tried to repurpose them the best I could because it is a lot of work to try to make custom supports. It may not look like it, but trying to get the shapes, because I did base a lot of these shapes off of real life coaster supports. I believe the one where the park where Megaphobia is. I can't think of what that park is called. Hang on, I gotta look it up real quick. Megaphobia. Oh God, I can't even spell it. It's Oakwood, yeah. So Megaphobia Oakwood Park. That's the park it's at. What's the actual? I cannot think of what the actual ride itself is called. That's really bad. When I just looked at it the other day. It's a Gerstlauer. I believe it was either the first one or the second to it. It's the big orange and green one. I'll make sure to put up a card to it right about now. There's no way you guys can go back and check on it. Can I see the? It's called Speed No Limits. Man, it's kind of a lame name, but know what? I'll forgive it for being one. I believe is one of the first Gerstlauers. Actually, you know what? I believe the first one was at like Bon Bon Land, I think. And a very similar color scheme, I believe. You know what? I'll look it up as well. First Gerstlauer Eurofighter. That's the one. Hey, I got it right. Wildschwit. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but it's at Bon Bon Land, so I was correct. And no, actually, believe it or not, it doesn't. It has. It's giving me all but the ones I do want to see. No, I don't want to see all these other ones. I want to see this one. Let's look at field. Man, I'm really struggling with this today, guys. This is a mess. One day maybe we'll do a stream. We'll see just how bad it actually gets. Yeah, I want to see a picture of this one. Oh, it's the weird blue and like red one. Yeah, I'll make sure to put up a link to this one as well. It's been all over the place, but yeah. So that was the first one. And so like I said, I've been trying to make sure I take inspiration from like the actual footer shapings and stuff like that. And the ones that were in the game on this one, that had more like the Intamin like footer shape, because the Intamin's like Maverick, they've got the weird like big bolts stick out of the ground like that spider shape looking thing. I don't know how you describe it. So it's a bit odd the game went for that. I mean, granted, I know they do that to avoid like copyright infringement and stuff like that. So good on them for trying to make it their own. But to me, nah, man, we gotta go realistic. Although, I don't know how much realistic these supports are here on the end on this corner. It's because of the way the terrain was. I really probably should have widened it, but it's alright. Like I said, when I was doing it, I just had the auto tunneling thing turned on, so this is pretty much all as a result of that. And so, if you're wanting to download this, I recommend just kind of doing that yourself, maybe, just to make it easier. Unless, like I said, you just want to use a terrain tool and just kind of make it to where the supports are villageable, or at least the bases of them with the footers here. I think it makes it feel more natural. And I'm thinking if we do this again in the next one, we'll make it to where it's not a terrain coaster like this, because that was not the original intent. I wanted to make it a nice, easy plop and go coaster, but no, things have definitely gotten out of hand here. But I'm still definitely proud of how this ride has turned out. And honestly, it could fit pretty well in Westbrook Pines if we change the theme of it a bit. So, and that's something I'd encourage you guys to do as well. Maybe make the theme a little bit your own. You can change up the station if you want. Make it something a little bit different. I think it really helps. That's my whole thing with like clones and stuff like that. That's why if I see a clone, I don't mind them, but I just want them to feel unique. Like, don't make them a Batman and Ryan clone, all of them. I'm sorry. As much as good as those rides are, make them unique. At least Six Flags US of Texas has the insight to make it named Chupacabra now. Still probably not the best name, but it still at least works. And honestly, in terms of like Batman clones, that one and the one at SeaWorld San Antonio, I believe is called Great White. Don't quote me on that. I think it's called Great White. I wrote the right. I think I know the name, but no, definitely not. those just feel super weak, and I don't even know why that is. I don't know if it's the wheels or if it's the way that the heat affects them or anything like that. I don't know. Um, it's just a shame when you think about it because these rides are like really amazing and they like really rip your feet off. Like they really try to. Not as bad as like what Manchu does with that freaking Batwing at the end of it or in the middle of the ride, excuse me. But they're just not what I expect out of the Batman clones. So I don't know. Maybe that's just a me issue. Tell me what you guys think. Maybe I'm just making stuff up. I don't know. Maybe I'm just biased. That's entirely possible. I could just be biased. Because like I've grown up with Cedar Point and Kings Island and awful. I've been to Great America up in Chicago many times because I live around kind of in the middle of all of them. Don't get me wrong. I'm really happy that they're like managed to maintain them pretty well and stuff like that. They're just not what I expect them to be. And honestly, I don't know if you guys were around when Six Flags did the whole reversing Batman stuff like that when Batman faced backwards. That's what I was introduced with the ride, and I didn't like it for the longest time until I rode it facing forward like several years later. Because Batman, I'm sorry, those inverts should never be reversed like that. That's too much. I don't know if it was like the head banging that got me, or if it was just how intense it was. I think, that was just a oof. And also, especially like on the actual Batman ones, I don't like the microwave oven that is those K or those cubes made. I'm really struggling. I'll make sure to post a picture of those cubes right now. They are god awful because they have like this aluminum like siding all the way around them. They just like really heat up during the summer, and it's already bad when you've got a lot of people standing on top of you because they just don't filter uh, gas like they properly should. At least I don't think they do anyway. So yeah, and it's just oh, like I said, I could rant for hours on some of this stuff. Does it change anything? No, I'm still gonna write them, but it's just there could be so much better, but they're just not. So, but it is what it is. All right. Anyway, back to this station building kind of thing we're doing here. So again, I try to keep it kind of minimalistic. I took a page out of Flash Vertical Velocity, the boomerang going to Six Flags Great Adventure with that kind of arch station here because I thought that it fit really well with this kind of station design. I was gonna do just like a simple like A-frame style like we've got going on with some of the Westbrook Pine stations, but I'm like, nah, let's try something a little bit different here. Maybe go a little bit more modern. This feels like a very modern coaster with the whole black and white color scheme here. I think it really does stick out at night. I can't wait for you guys to see the nighttime lighting at the end of the video. I think it really helps. There's nothing over the top or anything like that, but I think the color scheme is at night make it really pop, and that whole white color scheme really plays to that favor. That was one of the things with Top of the Dragster's redo because of the whole thing we will not mention. Um, I was worried that it wasn't going to shine as bright at night because like it originally had like that bright red, yellow, and white like color scheme, and you could see it from everywhere. I'm like, oh, but it's gonna have this really dark gray and like white color scheme. I was worried it wasn't gonna shine. Oh no, I got proven wrong. I'll make sure to post a video of it if I can find one of it. It is because like you don't see too much of it at night because it was only open for like a few months there. But it stands out so well, and I think it looks absolutely incredible. And I cannot wait to hopefully ride it this summer at nighttime because I have ridden it, but it was only during the day. But either way, it's still a really phenomenal ride and stuff like that. And arguably has a lot better representation than this got going on. So now this is the one thing I got really annoyed with this game because the way the roof on here was crooked. So like the beam were exposed on one side but not the other. So I spent some time off camera just fiddling around with it, or maybe I did it here. I don't remember because I just didn't like the way that looked, man. It just that really irritates me. I know that's a me issue for screwing it up in the first place, but like, come on, man. It shouldn't have happened in the first place. Maybe I'm just that bad at the game. I don't know. And you can see like the whole like station's kind of crooked like that, and I don't know if the whole thing's like that honestly, or if it's just this one section. It's just really a shame, but it is what it is. And I've also made sure to include like a mix of like different colors in here because we got a lot of black and white. I was gonna do an orange, but for right now there's a lot of orange around, so let's go with this nice blue. Maybe it was a bit too much uh, off the path here, but hey, you know what? I think it works, and it just helps make it feel like its own. And you can see here we're putting on the final little railings here. I wanted to keep the station fairly open-ended, but obviously
it's kind of hard to do that when I'm wanting to make it like a building as well. So I think this kind of strikes the balance between it. Because this side doesn't have any walls or anything like that. It's just the side with like where the control booths and stuff would be. And normally I would put like a little covering around it to make it feel like its own little box like in real life, but I just didn't quite have the pieces, and I probably could have adjusted some of the supports to save on some of them, but I like the look of it the way it is, so I didn't think it needed too much more. And if you guys want to come back in and change it up, you always can. So I'll make sure to keep it fairly bare bones. Now, this is the one thing about the draw too, like make it the staircases. Again, why can't I make a square edge right here? You can do it in the original. Why can't I just do it easily here? I mean, granted, I know there are ways of doing it in this game. I just haven't been bothered to do it yet. Maybe that's something we come back and we touch up on in the near future here. But either way, it doesn't detract at all from the whole overall vibe here. Now, I will say it might be a bit jarring like going back and forth between this like metallic base structure we got going on with this more of a rustic, like kind of a wooden thing going on, but I wanted to make sure to make them feel different and make it the whole thing, not just one solid block of something. Which I mean, it still is a solid block of white metal, but it's not quite as bad of a thing here. It makes it feel like its own. I will say I originally wanted to include a bit of a cover down there and during the switchback section, just to again include more buildings to make it feel more alive. But again, I just didn't have the parts for it. But maybe that's something we can come back and update with when we do possibly do like two-part stuff. And who knows? Who knows what the future holds? God let me know. I prefer to leave things. I prefer to live things day by day, just because I think it makes things more refreshing and makes me feel like I'm not just stuck in a rut the whole time. Maybe that's just a weird thing. Maybe that's a whole yapping session we could go on about. Maybe that's what we start calling these time lapses just a yap session. Maybe I can structure some more. Maybe take questions. Maybe that's an idea we do in the future. I might let me know what you guys think. All right, so here we are at the god awful redoing the supports bit. Now, this is where I highly encourage you guys doing your supports. Really make sure you have your track and nailed down the first time so you don't have to do this because this is kind of painful to try to replace the supports when you already had them in a pretty solid place in the beginning anyway. Don't get me wrong, I think it was a much needed change, and I think, like I said, the ride flows a lot better, and honestly, the supports look better too. It's just a pain. Like it would have been done a lot faster if I didn't have to do this because this took another solid 2 hours, and also when I ultimately had to like change the ride setup some more to make sure I could have fully two trains running on it, not with one of them getting set up in a block somewhere, because I want to make sure to get the most amount of excitement out of it I could. Which, believe it or not, this ride actually gets fairly good ratings on the excitement level because it gets like a 7.44 something. I'll make sure to include all the stats during the POV section and um, down like in the comments below. I just think for this the smaller footprint you get out of it, you get a lot of good stuff out of it. And that's stuff I want to see with more coasters. I want to see like even with something like the boomerangs, I wanted to see them take a really small area and get like the most amount of inversions. And no, not just be my going back and forth. I wanted to see them change it up some. I mean, at least Flash Vertical Velocity at Great Adventures got different maneuvers. Like you've got that inverted implement that's like a stall that it flips over. I don't know. It's really that sensation is probably really crazy to feel. Now, some will be something I'd make sure to go out to check out, but not till a little bit, not till they get their Kinderkawa replacement in 26. So definitely have to wait and see. I just wanted to see like Rise use all their advantage to space to their advantage, whether it be vertical or horizontal or not. Honestly, I think that's one of those things that the Beast at King's Island honestly does good at, but also kind of at the same time bad. Because well, I get it as a long ride, that's the whole point behind it, but I just doesn't do anything for me because it doesn't go do like the crazy maneuvers like Voyage does, for example, at Holiday World. Because Voyage to me is pretty much the perfect wooden coaster because you've got a mix of airtime, a mix of ejector, a floater, plus a nice balance of like the turns you get in that spaghetti bowl section at the back because you're not going just in a straight line. So I think to me, Voyage is pretty much the perfect wooden coaster. Um, but I would like to see how El Toro holds up after it gets its full retracking section done here. As if you guys don't know, El Toro, the wooden coaster at Six Flags Great Adventure, their big star attraction, I'd say, even with Kingda Ka if it was still here. It's getting a full retracking and it should be done by 2026, I believe. Yeah, like in a two-part stage, I think. So I'll be really curious to see how that handles. Because not gonna lie, that ride's pretty killer with this airtime. Like I can always feel like the blood going to my head on it. So that'll be definitely an interesting change. So I'd be curious to see what you guys think about that as well. Because you guys probably know a lot more about it than I do. Because I'm over here just focusing on like the parks that I'm around. But I do care about what the other parks are doing and stuff like that. And just like that, we are pretty much in the home stretch of doing all the supports and stuff like that on here. We're doing back and doing like the transfer track section right here. Just doing some generic rock work and things like that. So there shouldn't be too much more to go with this. I hope you guys have enjoyed this style of uh, walkthrough here. It's not something I do too often just because of the fact I worry that I don't have enough stuff to talk about. Which we've definitely proven that. No, that's definitely not the case. No. I can find stuff to ramble on. Maybe that's something we could do other series. Again, try not to repeat myself too much. So I think this project has turned out very well. Definitely my first good crack at doing like a full realistic uh, coaster concept here. Maybe in the next one, if we do it, we'll do it a bit more themed up. Maybe we do like more of a Western theme, more of a pirate theme, because you can do pirate theme, believe it or not. It takes a little bit more effort. Maybe we don't do something as like grandiose as this. Maybe we one that doesn't actually involve going into the ground like this, because that I think shot me in the foot a little bit, but it's all right. Yeah, definitely it hurt me on using parts and stuff like that, but I think the overall effect is really, really nice. Just make sure when you guys are placing this in to make sure to turn off uh, terrain collision first, because it'll make it easier to place. And also there will be a sink me sign over in front of the eventual sign that'll be in front of the ride limitless sign. So make sure to keep that in mind when you're placing it in and stuff like that. And as you can see, we're putting the last like little touches around here. Now I want to make sure you can't just jump on in and into the track. That did pretty bad. So we're putting this little don't die fencing right around the area right here. Yes, that is a nerd chacho term. I did not make that up unless that's what it's naturally called. I don't know. I just know it keeps people from getting in the ride. So as if this kind of ride, we did not want that. So yeah, anyway, that being said, I believe this is coming to the end of this little time lapse section here. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that stuff. So that really does help me out on the channel. It makes me feel like I'm actually doing something here. So hope you enjoyed the video. And I'll make sure to see you guys in the video very soon. Bye now.